All right, so now that we're loading our to-dos from the Mongo database, the next endpoint that we're going to switch over is the one for creating new to-dos. So this one's going to be pretty straightforward as well. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by getting the new to-do text, just like we did before. And we're also going to create our new to-do, except we won't need this unique ID generator thing anymore. Right? Because what we're going to do, as you'll see, is we're going to switch over our app to use Mongo's default _ID property instead. So we can just remove UUID. We can also remove that as an import. And if you want to, you can even uninstall that package by saying npm uninstall UUID. Okay, and that will uninstall that package for us. So the next thing that we're going to do, now that we have our new to-do, is insert this new to-do into the database to-dos collection. So here's what that's going to look like. We're going to say db.collection to-dos.insert1, and we're going to insert the new to-do into there. Okay, so we're going to want to say const result equals await db.collection to-dos insert1. And what this result contains, if you'll recall, is it contains the new ID that was added to this new to-do here. So what we can do, now that we've inserted this new to-do into the database, well, there's really two things we can do. One thing is we could actually get that new to-do that we just created. And to do that, we could say const to-do equals await db.collection to-dos.find1. And we could use the ID inside this result here. So we would have to say _ID result dot inserted ID. Okay, and we could use that to basically load that new to-do with its new ID, because that's the problem here. We don't have the new ID that we want to send back to the user. But what I'm going to recommend you do instead, right, to avoid having to make unnecessary database operations, what I'm going to suggest you do instead is just use that ID property, right, that inserted ID, and basically send that back to the client along with the new to-do data. So here's what that'll look like. We're going to say new to-do, and we're going to use the spread operator to get all of the current attributes from it. And under that, we're going to add in the inserted ID property by saying result.insertedID. Okay, and that will send back our new to-do with its randomly generated ID that MongoDB gave to it back to the client. So let's give this one a try now, and we're going to need to run our server again. So we'll say npm run dev, because we stopped it to uninstall the UUID package. And now that it's listening, let's go back to our front end and try and create a new to-do. Oh, but before we do that, we need to actually convert our front end code over to use the _ID property. So let's head back here, and we're just going to search for .id in our code here and change that over to to-do _ID. Okay, so we'll change that here and change that there. And our front end is now using that _ID property instead of the old ID property that we were generating ourselves. Okay, so it should work now. If we take a look at it in the browser, let's just make sure we have the most up-to-date version by refreshing it, and we'll try and create a new to-do. All right, so let's, for a to-do, we'll say convert endpoints to MongoDB, and we'll click on create. And sure enough, we see that it says convert endpoints to MongoDB. And if we refresh this now, we'll see that that's persisted. And even if we refresh the entire server, right, if we kill it and restart it, npm run dev, we're going to see if we refresh our app now that it still has the same data, which is really one of the main purposes of a database. So that's how to convert over the create endpoint to use MongoDB. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.